Hi everyone, and welcome to Libra's Sun, Moon, and Rising June 2021 Love, Abundance, and Spiritual Health reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren, and I am so excited to do your reading today, Libra. So I actually am following up on your new moon solar eclipse reading, and I just got so into your energy that I had to record this additional video for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. So to go into a little bit about how this reading is structured, I will pull a card for love, one for abundance, and one for spiritual health, and then I'll go into the intuitive reading behind this. It's basically a look at what to expect in each of these areas for the month and any blockages that might be coming up pertaining to you feeling truly in flow and receiving basically the highest potential that you can in each category. All right, Libra, so we're going to start with love, and I love the energy of love. Because I see it in two ways. So I see it in the traditional, looking at romantic love. Of course, there's going to be that side to ourselves. But I also see love as the connective energy that flows between all humans, but taking it a step further, that it's the connective energy that flows between the plants and the animals, from the smallest molecule to the largest star in the sky, that this is the energy that connects us all. And when you think of love and you think of the highest form of love, which is truly unconditional love, it's looking at the universe and every molecule in it, including ourselves, as divinely part of an intelligent design. And that we can look with love at everything, because even in things that we believe are imperfect or inexplainable, they are still to be loved in their perfection because they are part of this grand intelligent design. But for the sake of this reading, we will keep that in mind, but we will also be looking at love in a more traditional way. So I'm using the Power of Surrender deck to pull your cards, because in general, when we're looking at romantic love or love in between friends and family, there tends to be this element of vulnerability. To really have strong relationships, we have to have the ability to show ourselves in a vulnerable way and be able to accept that in others. And the surrender deck specifically really focuses on showing you areas that probably are areas of blockages that prevent you from being able to be vulnerable, so that you keep the flow of love, which is a two-way street. If you think of energy never just goes in one direction, it will come back. And so that's really what love is. Love is that ability to connect yourself authentically with others and to respect that and receive that back from basically your external environment. So your first card here that came out right away as I was talking is Surrender to What Is. And it says here in the card, flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. And this specifically, when you think about this in relationship to love, how often in relationships do we try to fight a situation? We try, and this can be as simple as trying to change somebody's outlook. Maybe if we're talking about romantic love and a situation with a significant partner, that we could be looking at this from the perspective of, I have one idea, and I have one idea as to how and where and what we should be doing right now. And if your partner is not on board, you try to convince them or change them. And that's not really working with the energy of love. Working with the energy of love is being basically receptive to others in your life, to understanding that we all are perfect in our own ways, and that just as we have the right to put ourselves authentically out in a vulnerable way to interact with our external environment, so does everybody else. And that means that we have a right to our opinion just as much as the other person has a right to theirs. And sometimes we try to fight these external situations and people's external perceptions and perspectives, and we in turn don't understand why we are not being successful, why we are not feeling like we are loved in return. And it's because we're not reciprocating that energy. The energy of love is very one that is oriented, it's a mirror type energy, meaning that the more we put ourselves out there from a place of vulnerability and authenticity, the more we should be receiving that back to us from others, and be able to be receptive enough to respect that and to receive it. Now, if we're right off the bat putting up a block against receiving people's authentic selves, authentic opinions, authentic perspectives on situations, then we ourselves are blocking ourselves off from being able to express ourselves authentically and have it returned to us in a way that feels validating and that feels like we're in flow with and in sync with the person that we're working with. So here, really kind of going back to what it says here, it says, when you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. And when we're thinking about love, especially if it's not pertaining, let's say, to a significant other, let's say it's pertaining to friends or family, and maybe you're trying to come from a place of love. Oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, we like to give advice. We like to express ourselves in a way that we say is coming from love. And by that, I mean, we will come and tell somebody, you're doing something wrong. And I'm just telling you this because I love you. And in reality, that person's not going to hear, hey, this person loves me. They're going to hear instead, as you're trying to express from a place of love, they're going to hear, this person is criticizing me. This person doesn't love me or see me as perfect. They don't respect my opinions, and they don't respect my ability to authentically make decisions based on my internal unique self. And that's where we can get into trouble. That's where we can actually disconnect our own selves from acting in an authentic way by focusing so much on trying to change the situation or change other people. And that's not what love is about. And that's not when I talk about engaging your unique internal self with your external environment and this dynamic tension that's, beautiful and helps us unlock the best versions of ourselves into the world to be realized. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just expressing whatever comes into your mind and you verbalize it to somebody without realizing, first, is this really going to be helpful to them? Is this really going to be respecting them as an individual as much as it's respecting myself to take action to speak it? And same with situations. Often in a situation that is focusing around the energy of love, so let's say it's, maybe your home life, maybe you're not happy with where you're living. You're in an apartment and you want to be in a home. And you're so frustrated. You're so frustrated that you're not living in this house, and you have no love for your environment. All of a sudden you walk through the door of your apartment and you hate every aspect of it. You hate the fact that the door creaks when you open it, and you hate the fact that you have loud, noisy neighbors on one side, and you hate the fact that, your bathroom toilet runs continuously or whatever it is. And so you're living in this constant state of frustration and annoyance and anxiety because you're here and not there. And this is when not being able to accept what is and to bring the energy of love to everything at any given time robs us of the ability to experience the peace and tranquility and gratitude that comes when we're living with love. Instead, we are focused on, well, when I get here, that's when I can receive love. That's when I'll experience happiness. That's when I'll experience emotional fulfillment. And instead, we don't know how long it might be until we get into that house. And in the meantime, we need to express gratitude for simply having a roof over our heads and being in that apartment. Now, you don't have to sit there and lie to yourself and say, oh, I love this apartment, and you hate it. Or to say, I love my noisy neighbor, when it's truly creating issues for yourself. But what you can say is, I love the fact that I live here, but I have the awareness that I've outgrown this space and that I have the ability to work towards getting myself to the next level, which is either the home or the apartment in a new space. And you can bring it back to this element of gratitude, love, being able to then receive the love of your environment, and also the appreciation for yourself and the awareness that with love for yourself, you're not going to keep yourself in this place of frustration and anxiety. Instead, you're going to tap back into your power, your seat of personal power, which is taking courageous action, and start to take the steps towards getting yourself out of this current situation and transcending it into the next evolutionary growth in your physical, while also at the same time growing in your emotional and spiritual way, and having that ability to do that, and understanding that the external environment is not one to be hated and ignored and attempted to control. Instead, you bring it back and you control what you can in and of yourself, which is making decisions and taking action from your authentic self. But surrendering to what is will bring you that peace in the moment, will allow that clear channel of energy with love because love is a powerful energy. When we are disconnected from it, it really colors everything for us. That really is where we become disconnected from those feelings of peace, of fulfillment, of happiness, and we get stuck in the feelings of frustration and anxiety and separation. Because love is that connective force. And instead of looking at, well, I'm stuck in this apartment and I'm all alone and no one's here to help me get out of the situation, you bring it back to, I have a roof over my head. I have the ability to make decisions in my life, to make changes. I have the ability to start saving a little bit here and there. I have the ability to actually reach out for help if I need to. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to see where my next step is going to lead me away from this situation. And it really takes all the pressure off of you having to focus so much on the external. Because the number one lesson that we all are continually learning is that we cannot control our external environment, and that includes the people in it. And often we will get ourselves distracted from focusing on ourselves by focusing on others, by trying to change others, by trying to change our situation through changing another. So I want, we don't live in the house that I want to live in, that I want to live in, because you won't get a better paying job. And then you focus on that and you push that and you harp on that with that person. And in reality, it's you that wants the bigger house. It's you that's not happy. And in turn, you're not showing love to the other person. You are cutting yourself off from love with them through compassionately accepting them as they are. Maybe that's all that they can do in this moment. Maybe that's the only job that they can manage. Maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't have the same wants and needs and desires. Maybe they don't care about moving to a larger house. And at that point, that's when you need to bring it back, accept them for who they are, accept your situation for what it is. And then this is where you get the chance to clear the block by bringing yourself back to the seat of power, by only having to realize it's just on you. You get to make that decision. Do I stay with this person? I can appreciate who they are. I can appreciate that they want to stay in this job and they don't care to move and to make more money, and I can love them, but I don't need to be with them. And so if I choose to act from a place of love, the real acting from a place of love is me accepting them for what they want, and then me choosing to make a decision that's within my own best interest, which might be walking away from a situation, walking away from a relationship. Or realizing, I love this person, they're in a position that they love and they've expressed this, they don't want to leave it, they don't feel any desire to do that. And so now I have to look at it and go, if I'm unfulfilled with my living situation, then what do I need to do? What's within my power to control that I can start to elevate us together to this next step that I would like to see, that I know will fulfill me and make me feel more in flow with love and the abundance of life. So this month, I really think, Libras, this is about evaluating where you hold yourself back in love from a place of feeling that, almost from the illusion of telling yourself, I do this from a place of love. I harp on this person from a place of love. I'm judgmental from a place of love. I am, not going to accept fully this person from a place of love. And instead realizing that it's those very things, it's that very kind of aggressive attitude to the external environment that is preventing you from having that love returned, from having fulfilling relationships, from feeling in control of your life. That you might actually, when love is not in balance, and love can be, on a very base level, love can just be feeling appreciated. Love can be that feeling of having, reciprocal appreciation. And you might not be feeling that. You might be feeling you carry all the weight in your household, or you carry all the weight at work, or you carry all the weight in your friendships. And in reality, no one's asking you to carry that weight. You're putting it on yourself in saying that you're doing this from a place of love. Well, I'm doing this from a place of love for my team, so I'm going to take on all this work. But then I'm going to be frustrated and annoyed and make snarky comments, and they're all not going to say thank you for all the hard work I've done because they're annoyed that I'm making snarky comments at them. It's like one of those things that no one wants to have the person who offers to help, come in and say, oh, I'll help. But then as they're helping you, they're complaining the whole time in a passive aggressive way. Like, oh man, gosh, I really could be doing anything else right now but helping you move. But here I am helping you move. And you're like, well, you didn't have to say yes. And that's kind of what I'm feeling here for you, Libra, is that I feel like you're carrying a burden that's disconnecting you from feeling happiness, but it's a burden you've placed on yourself. It's not a burden that others have placed on you. It's a burden that you've willingly accepted, and now you're aggressively trying to tell the world, I'm carrying this burden. I don't have to be, but I am. And it's about freeing yourself from that so that you can step back into this feeling that you love others and accept them and take the burden off of yourself from trying to change them or push them to change so that somehow they want to get on board with changing your situation, which again, that's not for somebody else to do for you. It's up to you to change your own situation. It's up to you to make the choice to walk away from somebody who's choosing not to change or who doesn't fit you anymore. And so that's really where I'm seeing this. It's kind of a big block. It's a block that has a lot of layers. It's a block that not only can make you, it's kind of like the element of the martyr syndrome of, I've taken all this on, but from a place of love. And Libra, you have that, most of the Libras I know, and I have a Libra moon placement, so I understand this. I subconsciously act from this place. So I am talking with full candor, that full knowledge of having done this myself, that we tend to take on these things. And again, we tell ourselves it's from a place of love. We tell ourselves it's from a place of helping bring balance and harmony. Like, oh, no, don't worry. You don't have to do that. Like, I'll do that. And hopefully this will even the scales. But in reality, you just keep taking and taking and taking. And then you don't realize just how much you've taken on yourself that really nobody has asked you to take on. And no one cares if you're the martyr except you. So that's where we get ourselves into trouble. And so in reality, to clear this block this month, it's really about you coming back to yourself and taking a look at all aspects of your life. I would say this really, I'm not feeling it so much in I mean, yes, I do feel some of you really do have this strong in your relationships right now, and that there is a true imbalance and that you really need to work that out. But I also see that this can, come out into all aspects of your life, into, other interpersonal relationships as well as work. So this is really about you taking a look at how you apply the energy of love and receptiveness and respect of others and the external environment, and how much you are trying to control it, trying to focus on controlling the external, when in reality, the only thing you can control is yourself. And really bringing that seat of power back to you and releasing what is on others. And if you need to make a change this month from a place of love, well, then make that change for yourself. Don't ask another to change for you or to create a change in your situation. And I think you're going to see coming into July a marked improvement in what you're getting on a rate of return in love from your external environment, as well as how you will start to reconnect with your feeling of personal empowerment, with being able to just make decisions based on what you need. And that's expressing love in and of itself, because you're expressing the love for yourself and you're outwardly showing that to others. I respect myself. I meet my needs. And people are like, oh, great. That's cool. I'm going to do the same. All right. So that's actually a pretty cool card. A big block to clear, but I think it's one that will liberate you on all levels. So really dig into that one. That's why I spent so much time on it right now. So now we're going to move into abundance. And abundance is, obviously we think of abundance as, actually, I'm trying to shuffle here while talking. It's like, feel like I'm trying to hop on one foot and pat my head and rub my stomach. So abundance can be financial abundance, obviously, but I'm talking about kind of like how I was bringing love into a grander, higher version of love. Abundance can mean a variety of things to different people at any given time. Abundance can mean an abundance of peace, an abundance of support, an abundance of joy. So at any given point, we are hoping and wishing for an abundance of something in our lives. And so this is kind of what I'm working with the energy of abundance, is where you have a block in bringing in what you are looking forward to for yourself in the area of abundance. So we have number 10, Unfinished Symphony. I don't know if you guys can see the image on here. I don't know how clear it is. So Unfinished Symphony, which this is an interesting one to think about in abundance. And I'm just trying to get an intuitive message here, and I'm really picking up on the musical component of this, the creative element. And when you think of abundance, no, most people don't tie those two together, don't tie music or instruments or notes to abundance. But what I'm getting is that there is some aspect of your life that is unfinished, that is unplayed. And this is what I'm just picking up intuitively. That there is this place for you that you're being blocked from receiving what you want. So let's say you are hoping for more money, or you are hoping for more love in your home life, or you're hoping for just stability and peace. What is blocking you from being able to achieve that right now is the denial of something that you know is part of your own personal symphony. So in one of my foundation videos, I talk about looking at the collective experience as a symphony, that we are all here, each one of us is a unique individual being, to play a specific instrument and to be a part of this. And that if we all don't step into those roles and we don't show this part of ourselves, that the symphony, the greater symphony of life, will never reach its highest potential. It would be just like going to a symphony hall and having missing instruments, and you're listening to it going, this doesn't quite sound right. And it's kind of the same with us on an individual level in our own lives. So we each have our own individual symphony to play. And if we try to ignore that, or we write half the story and we never go back and finish the second half, I'm sorry guys, I have a message coming through. I'm trying to just clear that. Okay. That if we never go back and admit it or recognize that there's this part of ourselves that we've been holding ourselves back from completing, that's integral to us, that is this beautiful symphony. It's an interesting image. You know, there's like sitting on almost like this egg with this face. I feel like that's an element of spirit coming through, and there's this element with the egg of potential, of new life. And that within this symphony is kind of this rebirth for yourself. And so I feel that this month it's about re-examining your life, taking a look at what you have given up on that is integral on some level to expressing yourself and living yourself authentically into your external environment. And what does that look like? That could be something like you started writing a book maybe a few years ago, and you know, I always love this saying, life got in the way. And then maybe life got in the way. And what does that mean? That means that maybe you had to start a family, and so you had to take a different job and you didn't have the time to apply to finishing this book. Or you got to a certain point and somebody read half of it and gave you constructive criticism which you didn't like, and so you just said, oh well, must suck, I'm not gonna pick it back up. But yet somewhere deep down in your core you keep thinking about it. It's in the back of your mind at all times, you know, this unfinished book. Or it could be that hobby that you really loved at one point. You know, maybe you played a sport and you were really great at it, and you never took it as far as you never really wanted to see. You never took it to the point of like, how far can I go with this? And it could be just because, again, life did get in the way, circumstances changed. But now you're being asked to re-examine that part of yourself. So let's say you were an average soccer player, and you were playing up through college, and you know, you never actually went and played professionally, but you would love to get back into it. And there's something about soccer that just, you know, you don't have the time now to play soccer on, let's say, just a basic, you know, local league level, but you keep thinking about it. And there's this element of like, what if I had just said yes to taking that position after college and playing professionally in Norway for 1 year, you know, or whatever it is. This is that time you're being asked to reevaluate that part of yourself, because it's coming up for a reason now. This is where you might be surprised by the fact that just by re-examining this part of yourself and bringing it back up, that it's going to really break down that block of abundance in some area that you've been struggling with. So for instance, let's bring it back to the playing soccer. Maybe you're like, you know what, I really have wanted to play soccer. I'm gonna just talk and see if there's like a local league that I can start playing in. And you start playing in it and you connect with people who are as equally passionate about soccer as you. And one of them directs you to the fact that the local high school is in need of a soccer coach, or that there's, you know, a younger intramural team that needs help. They need an assistant coach. And all of a sudden you're like, well, I have time, I guess, to step into that role. And suddenly this unlocks an abundance of what in whatever area you're hoping for. So let's say you are hoping to bring money in from a place where you're working with your passions, or you want to have more of an abundance of emotional fulfillment, and suddenly you're doing something that you love again that's also starting to open up a whole nother world for you. It's starting to change who you interact with. It's actually opening up the possibility to work with children, which you had never even considered previously. It's getting you back into a physical fitness state that allows you to feel great about yourself again. And suddenly you have all this abundance that you would otherwise have never been able to easily manifest just by making that decision to pick back up in that area. And that can be the same about, you know, you have a half-written book and you're like, well, if I just finish the last 2 chapters, and suddenly it's sparking your creative fire. And in rereading what you wrote before, you realize, oh, I could change this, and now I've experienced this. And now actually I realize that I have a friend who is an editor, and and maybe there's all these connections you didn't have back at that time. And suddenly it's like the door's open and it's easy. And that's what I think you guys are being called to with this unfinished symphony to examine this month, is to look at something that has been in the back of your mind, that you have felt has not been completed, that you were not able to complete or not able to work with or not able to take it to its fullest extent. And, you know, if you're going to ask yourself, well, what is this? I don't feel like I have anything like that. Well, what is that thing that when you look back at your life, do a little mini life review. Take the time this month to meditate on, if you don't know where this is automatically, take a look at what's that one point when I kind of reflect back on my life that I regret not taking that opportunity, that I regret not, you know, taking that teacher's offer of, you know, sending my paper off to some literary thing, or I regret not saying yes to that trip around the world when I had the chance, and re-examining that and seeing where you can pick back up with that. And I think it's going to be really cool for you to see where that leads and how it's going to open up that area of abundance that you feel blocked in. All right, Libras, moving on to spiritual health. Now, spiritual health is how healthy is your connection between your internal, authentic, individual self and connecting that to your external environment. And this can look like you just being aware of yourself and your unique abilities, hopes, and dreams. And how often are you acting from this place authentically as you interact with the external world? And additionally, how are you bringing awareness to the decisions that you take and awareness as you choose to take action, the health of you stopping to think, is this in my best interest? Is this going to play to who I am as a unique individual? So that's really when I talk about spiritual health, that's what we're looking at. We're gauging at how healthy are you connecting with yourself, and then how healthily are you connecting that self with your external environment and others. All right, so I'm going to pull a animal, and I always forget this is the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. So I'm going to pull a Spirit Animal card for you. You don't. This is a hard deck for me to shuffle. It's big cards, a lot of cards, big cards and a lot of cards. So sometimes it can take a while for a card to come out. Come on, Libras. Are you trying to hide from me what your spiritual health is looking like right now? Let's see. Libra for June. What do they need to know? What do they need to know? My goodness. Apparently, you guys are really, really quiet in this area. I think I might just, if something doesn't come out in the next second here, I might just intuitively pull. All right, I'm gonna split the deck. I'm gonna do one last shuffle, and then I'm gonna pull here. All right, what does Libra need to know? And I'm sorry, Spirit, that I have a hard time shuffling this deck. It feels like this one here. Okay. Oh, beautiful. All right, so we have number 46, and it says, Peacock Spirit, let it shine. I love this card. I love the colors of it. I love everything about it. So when we're looking at spiritual health, and obviously as I was talking about connecting your internal self authentically with your external environment, this is really saying that this month, this is the time to remember who you are, to really, and not be afraid in any capacity to let who you are shine to the highest potential. This is not a month of hiding. This is not a month of playing down your best attributes. This is a month of coming full forward as yourself into every situation. And this might mean that you have to kind of sit back and take the time to really meditate. You know, as you're meditating on perhaps what part of yourself is that unfinished symphony, kind of do double duty as you're doing that, to really stop and think about, okay, who am I now in the present moment, calling my power back to now, not getting lost in the past and not getting lost in the future, but who am I right now? What are my strengths and weaknesses? And what are my best attributes? And how can I bring that authentically into every situation to heighten that so that I get to feel like I'm shining? And if that's, let's say as you're taking a look at yourself, you're like, one of the things I've noticed about myself that people have made comments about, or that I feel good when I do, is I have the ability to make people laugh. I have the ability to bring levity to a situation. Well, then this is really, you're being called this month to bring that forward, to really interact with other people, and as you do, to remember that this is one of your superpowers, to really bring that superpower of mirth. And you can bring this into all aspects of your life. Maybe you're sitting in a work meeting and everything's getting a little tense, and you have this ability to say, to crack a joke, or to, pleasantly surprise everybody by having a positive spin that gets everybody to kind of laugh with this kind of cathartic release of like, oh yeah, we were getting pretty serious. Or maybe you have this, as you're thinking about what your unfinished symphony is, maybe you rediscover a part of yourself that you have left hidden, and that's the part you're really going to work with letting shine this month. So let's say you did remember that you were great at soccer. This is the part that you're going to not be afraid to go out and show when you start to play. Let's say you go out and play a friendly game, to show just how great you are. And to feel love for that, to feel excited that you get a chance to bring this passionate part of your unique self into engagement with your external world. Or it could be, the book that you've half written and you've never told that anybody that you like to write. And now is the time to say, hey, look, I wrote this. I maybe wasn't strong enough previously to take constructive criticism, but I want to share this with you guys because I'm so excited that I wrote this and that I'm continuing to write this, and I'd love to get feedback. And to really open yourself up for that feedback, but to also at the same time be super confident in your own ability to work with that medium and to write a story that others are really going to want to hear. This is actually, it shows me that you guys don't have a lot of blockages in the month of spiritual health. You seem to be pretty good there. You're just being asked to take it up a notch. I think some people might be dealing with some heavy energy just because this month has some very tricky planetary alignments. And so I think what you're being called to do is really kind of shine the light through however you're acting, to be the example of, oh yeah, it's fun to be around people who are authentic to themselves. It's fun to be around people who really express from a place of not only authenticity, but happiness and joy around who they are. All right, and just as a final wrap up here, Libras, I'm going to pull a couple tarot cards just to get a final message. Let's see, any final messages for our Libras? Ooh, okay, we have Page of Cups and 10 of Swords. So I think this is kind of a great balance, a wrap up of showing the initial energy with the final energy of what you're starting the month with perhaps and what you're being called to end with. And so the 10 of Swords is about being at your lowest point. It's really the culmination of feeling like, my gosh, this is overkill. I couldn't possibly be any lower than I am at this moment. But it's coupled with the Page of Swords, the Page of Cups, which is about just starting to play again and reconnect. So if you can kind of see in this picture, it's like a boy who's found, this cup. He's opened this box and found this cup, and it's almost like, oh my gosh, what's in this cup? And he's like reconnecting with it, reconnecting with the magic. And that cup is your emotional fulfillment. And so really what this is showing me is that you may have felt recently that you were at your lowest point, or even in the past. And this month you're being asked to take a look at what's in the box, to re-examine from a place of emotional connection yourself again and your relationship to others, and to release the impact of others that they have on you, to just simply focus on yourself and your own needs, to focus on playing once again with what brings you emotional contentment. So if you're looking at this unfinished symphony, think of it as you're starting to discover these aspects of yourself. What is in your box that you're pulling out, and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about this, and I forgot about this, and it's coming back with that sense of childlike curiosity and wonder. Like, I can't wait to bring this out into the world. I can't wait to let this shine, to show what I found in this box that's mine. And that's really what you're being asked to do in June, is really to tap back into that emotional connection with self and be able to connect that and go out fearlessly into your external environment with it. But also not letting your external environment to know that you at one point were as low as you will ever be, and you overcame it. And now it's about coming back and realizing that the gifts from the universe are within, and that you had the strength to overcome being at your lowest point. So now utilize that strength to take out this vulnerable part of yourself and show it to the world. All right, Libra, I hope you have a wonderful June. I think the energies this month are going to be one of self-discovery and one of liberation and empowerment. So I'm glad I did this reading because it's such a fun one. I will see you again in July for your next love, abundance, and spiritual health reading. Bye, guys.